Manx Radio Sport.
Very good evening to our listeners on Manx Radio AM 1368. I'm Rob Pritchard and welcome to Saturday Sport Classified with your latest roundup of the football and rugby results across the Isle of Man today. We'll start with the football fixtures. We have, of course, had the GH Corlett Woods Cup quarter-finals alongside league fixtures. We are still awaiting a couple of results, I should add, before we go into the results. So if you can, please text any of these results that are awaiting into us on 166 177. As it stands, the classified results for Saturday the 25th of February in the Manx footballing divisions are as follows. Starting with the GH Corlett Woods Cup quarter-finals. Governors Athletic 0, St Mary's 9. Ramsey Youth Centre Old Boys and Gyms awaiting result. Foxdale 3, Braddon 1 after extra time. Michael United 1, Castletown 5. In the Canada Life Men's Premier League, Russian United 2, St George's 0. St John's vs Laxey awaiting result. Douglas Royal 3, Douglas High School Old Boys 2. Union Mills 4, Marown 1. Ayr United 2, Onken 2. Ramsey 3, Corinthians 1. In DPS Limited Division 2, Douglas Athletic 2, Colby 2. In Canada Life Combination 1, Laxey vs St John's awaiting result. Douglas High School Old Boys vs Douglas Royal awaiting result. Marown vs Union Mills awaiting result. Onken 1, Ayr United 1. Corinthians 1, Ramsey 1. DPS Limited Combination 2, St Mary's 10, Michael United 3. Castletown vs Gyms postponed. Braddon 0, Ramsey Youth Centre 3. Colby 1, Maloo 6. And in the North West Counties Football League Premier Division, Prestwich Hayes 1, FC Isle of Man 0. Those are your classified football results so far. As I mentioned just a moment ago, we are still awaiting some key results, particularly that remaining one of the quarterfinals of the GH Corlett Woods Cup, as we are planning to do the live draw for the semi-finals on today's show with Tony Mepham. So any of those outstanding results, if you do have them, please do send those in to us on 166 177 or get in touch with Tony Mepham directly if you can. Okay, so let's bring him in for the first time this evening. It's been a raft of different fixtures across the board. So Tony Mepham, very good evening.
Good evening, Rob, and it's nice not to have to race down to the bowl, is it? And do an FC Isle of Man game as well, because it's usually ding-dong. But yeah, some interesting scores coming in today and a few little changes in the league positions as well.
Absolutely. Well, let's start then with the GH Corlett Woods Cup quarterfinals, which took centre stage today. 1:45pm kickoffs for those, of course, taking into account the likes of extra time and penalties if required. We'll start with Governors Athletic versus St Mary's. Now, these two sides in Division 2 occupying completely opposite ends of the table. Governors struggling at the bottom, St Mary's roaring away at the top at the moment. And this cup fixture went to the form book, didn't it, Tony? St Mary's convincing winners by 9-0.
Yeah, comfortable win in the end, and I know Carl Hunter was all sort of set up, ready for his team. They thought had a good side out today, pretty well full strength. But St Mary's a really good class outfit, and it proved today. Ty Thompson got a couple of goals. Tar Pumpside got 2 as well. Owen Canepa, Jamie Skillen, Joe Burquist, and 2 for Chris Asbridge. So a comfortable result for St Mary's in the end, and they go through into the hat.
We are now getting a couple of extra results through. Thank you so much for sending those through. We'll come to those in just a moment. One of those we are still waiting on as well, as we mentioned, for the cup game. We don't have that just yet between Ramsey Youth Centre and Gyms. That's a very important one. If we could get those results through, that would be hugely appreciated. And as we speak, the Manx public has responded here. So it looks like it has finished Ramsey Youth Centre 1, Gyms 2. Harry Wilson and Kieran Horrocks with Jim's goals and 2 assists from Sam Liver. And Ramsey Youth Centre, apparently, according to this message, let themselves down, but Jim's battled hard and got the result there. So Ramsey Youth Centre 1, Gyms 2. Tony, the other result in the Woods Cup. Great timing that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm glad we checked that one, because the information we had, it was 2-0 to Gyms, and we just wanted to make sure with the scorers and everything. But from what I'm hearing, Dylan Parrish had a really good game for Ramsey Youth Centre, but couldn't score the goal that they needed. We've got Gyms there just really battling towards the bottom half of the table, but today that'll give them a massive lift. As you say, Harry Wilson got 1 goal, Kieran Horace got the other one, and it's Gyms who go into the hat.
Absolutely. Then we move over to Billygoat Park, Foxdale versus Braddon. Intriguing tie this, and this went beyond the 90 minutes, didn't it, Tony? Foxdale coming out on top, but they had to work for it, didn't they?
They did, and my thanks to Alan Lemaire for keeping us posted with the information. And I've got here Foxdale v Braddon. Braddon were 1-0 up at half-time. Kevin Pullman equalised for Foxdale in the second half. Then it went into extra time. 1-1 at half-time in extra time, and Jason Chalmer scored 2 in the space of 5 minutes to win it for Foxdale. Very even game in the 90 minutes, but Foxdale deserved it in extra time, so it's Foxdale go through.
Great game over there, and then many eyes will have been on this other Woods Cup quarter-final up in the north of the island. Second and third in Division 2, two sides really trying to hunt down St Mary's at the top of the division. We wondered which way this might go, and this might have surprised a couple of people here between Michael United and Castletown. Castletown coming out on top, and on the scoreline, it looked a bit dominant, didn't it? Castletown winning by 5-1. That's a statement, that, isn't it?
It certainly is, and Castletown will be buzzing, and it was Liam Kane who got the goal for Michael, but Castletown, 4 goals, all from Michael individual errors. This is from Michael and mistakes. Michael first half the better side, but missed chances. Half time it was 1-0 to Castletown. Second half on Michael own goal, a quick third from another mistake made the game out of reach for Michael. Disappointing game, but we go again. Lessons learned. So the goal scorers for Castletown: Edson De Silva, he got 2. Joel Callow got his name on the score sheet. Fingal Watterson, and that own goal as well. And just to recap, Liam Kane it was who got the goal for Michael.
Obviously, they progressed, Castletown, in the Cup, but I suppose going into the rest of the league, does that have a bit of a psychological edge, a game like that? Or does it not really, do you think, going to affect Michael United too much? They've had such a good season so far. They've
had a good season, and when you look at the league tables, the top 4 sides, it's St Mary's, Michael second, Braddon third, Castletown fourth. There's a lot of game differences between them because Braddon have only played, 12. Castletown have only played 11, but St Mary's have played 14. 35 points it is for St Mary's, 28 for Michael. Braddon are on 24 and Castletown are on 23, so it's all to battle for. I know Ramsey Youth Centre just below them, but they played 14-4-23. So to me it's between Braddon, Michael, Castletown and St Mary's to get in top 4, and then wherever the rest goes, Rob, we'll have to wait and see. There's still plenty of games to go.
It's a belting league, this one, isn't it?
Well, it is, and when you look today, Jim's against Ramsey Youth Centre. Jim's a 9th, and they've only got 11 points on the board, but today they had a great performance, and Ramsey Youth Centre 10 points, 12 points ahead of them. So it was a really good lift for them. I know they couldn't field a combination side today due to a lack of players, but they got the result they wanted, and they go into a semi-final of the GH Corlett Woods Cup. Tremendous.
Absolutely. Well, I did mention just before we went into more of the Woods Cup fixtures there that we did have a couple more results in from the league games today. Thank you very much for texting in. It concerns 2 games between St John's United and Laxey, so they are as follows. In the Canada Life Men's Premier League, it finished St John's United 3, Laxey 1. And then over in Canada Life... absolutely correct. Canada Life combination one, it finished Laxey 0, St John's United 7. Thank you very much for sending those in. So just as a reminder, before we start going through the results, there are still a couple that are outstanding. If you could send them in, that'd be fantastic. Just 2 left by my reckoning here. So if we do have a result for Douglas High School Old Boys versus Douglas Royal in Canada Life combination 1, and then Morown versus Union Mills also in combination 1, we'd be very grateful to get those results in. Okay, well, let's take a look through the results we do have. We'll start with the Canada Life Men's Premier League. 2 of the informed sides in the division meeting at Croyt Lowy today, Russian United and St George's. St George's will have been hoping after their recent run of good form to be continuing their march up the table, but they've been halted today by Russian United, who continue their good form. They've won today by 2-0.
Yeah, I don't know what influence it had on the game, but it doesn't help when you get a player sent off, and that was Carl Henson for St George's. He's just come back from a ban, I think, so he does like these red cards, but it was Aaron Hawley, the star today. He scored the opening goal on 65 minutes, and then he got his second of the game on 77, so a terrific result for Russian. It's just a shame, isn't it, Rob, when you look back at the league table and the results and everything at the start of the season, if they'd sort of had the results that they're having at the moment, then they could have been right up there, because obviously with Corinthians dropping points today, it's just sort of fallen into Peel's lap. But today another terrific performance by Russian.
Very well, and then we move on to the game that we've actually just been told about. St John's United beating Laxey by 3-1. Do we have any further details on scorers at the moment, Tom?
I haven't, but I don't think it's a very happy Peel manager, Laxey manager, because I just asked him what the score was. He said we were losing 3-1 with 10 minutes to go. So it says it all. It affects people in different ways, but for St John's, it's another 3 points for them. They've played 15 now for 24 points, and they move ahead of Laxey in that league. But if you can text us through the scorers, please, 166 177.
We have actually just had another result sent in to us from Combination 1. Thank you very much. So it finished in Canada Life Combination 1, Moran 4, Union Mills 2. So, Tony, I think you can scribble away that one in the next couple of moments as we move on to the next fixture that came up in the Canada Life Men's Premier League. Douglas Royal hosting Douglas High School Old Boys. Two teams in that tight amount of teams at the bottom end of the Premier League at the moment. Really very little to choose between them, and Douglas Royal and Douglas High School Old Boys among that mix. And a big 3 points today for the home side. Douglas Royal just beating Douglas High School Old Boys by 3-2 at Ballafletcher.
Yeah, Michael Fitzmaurice just saying that it was two teams who just clawed at everything to try and get the win, because they're both battling towards the bottom of the table. But it's Royal who got the 3 points. Jamie Agnew with one of the goals, Simon Dooley and James Clark. Haven't got the Douglas High School Old Boys scorers, so if you could please text us through 166 177. But Old Boys certainly at the bottom of the table. Played 14 now for 9 points. Douglas Royal, a little bit of a daylight starting to appear above them now. They've played 16, so only 8 games to go for 14 points. So they're starting to drag themselves away. And with Onken just getting 1 point today, they're still down in that danger zone.
You said there from some of the comments there that both teams, they went at it, they were tenacious, they went out there to win. And sometimes when you see games between teams toward the bottom of the table, it can be quite cagey. No one wants to give up too much ground. But by the sounds of it, at least from what we're being told, the fact that the game was pretty open, both teams went at it, that's an encouraging sign for both sides. Even though Douglas High School Old Boys on the wrong end of the result today, that will surely fill them with a bit of confidence that they've got the fight to continue.
Well, they're ticking away and they're not getting sort of beaten by many. And, odd goal today and, right the way through the last 2 or 3 games, they're not far away. I watched them in the cup game against Peel and I thought, good display. But it's just like anything, it's on the day. When you look at Douglas Royal, they've definitely got players there for the future, so they need to develop them. But at the moment, it's been tough going for them. And, James Clark has always scored goals for Royal's combination, but he's been given the opportunity in the first team and he's scoring them now. Simon Dooley will weigh in with the ones, and Jamie Agnew's a good player, so it's not all doom and gloom for Douglas Royal. But the important thing for them today was to get those 3 points, and they've got them.
Just had a message through regarding the St John's and Laxey game that took place. It was actually delayed by 40 minutes due to an injury to Nathan Kelly of St John's. So hopefully nothing too serious there. Wishing Nathan Kelly all the best with that one. So the game did get back underway. St John's scorers from that game, Callum Taggart with 2 and then Jammer with 1 penalty.
Jamie Crook, I think it'll be.
And we haven't got the goal scorer for Laxey, but it was a penalty to Laxey as well. That one as well there. So thank you very much for texting that one in as well. And we do have another result that has come through from Canada Life Combination 1, the final one that we were waiting for between Douglas High School Old Boys and Douglas Royal. So in Canada Life Combination 1, that finished Douglas High School Old Boys 2, Douglas Royal 1. And we'll come to that in just a moment. We'll turn our attention then back to the Canada Life Men's Premier League, and up at Gary Moore, Union Mills hosted Moran. Both sides capable of good things in this division, but sometimes just can't quite find the consistency. Union Mills, though, convincing winners today by 4-1.
Yeah, and a terrific result for Union Mills, and I think on my maths that puts them in second spot now, so well done to them. And today it was the damage done in the first half, because Luke Booth with a couple of goals, Tyler Hughes got one and an own goal, but it was 3-1 at half time. We haven't got Moran's goal scorer.
Then we move to the north of the island, Andreas playing fields, Ayr United hosting Onken, and maybe a bit of a surprising result to some, but a very good result for the visitors, you'd probably say, in the grand scheme of the season so far. A 2-2 draw up north. Yeah,
and Ethan Levers got one of the goals for Onken, good young player. James Crush got the other one. Not too sure who got Ayer's 2 goals, but as you rightly say, it's an important point for them, because Onken are 12th. They play 13 now for 11 points, and when you look at Ayr United, who played 16 for 20, so a bit ahead of them. So that's a good performance by Onken today. It's always a big trip up to Ayr, and it's a big trip back down, so they haven't come away empty-handed. And the important thing for them, if they're just picking up the odd points, it puts them in a better position and try and get them away from the bottom of this table.
And the final game in the Canada Life Men's Premier League was at the Balaclone Stadium between Ramsey and Corinthians, with Peel up at the top, not having a game. It was a chance for Corinthians to claw back some ground. They've got a few games in hand to try and catch them, but they've been pegged back today, Tony, by a brilliant Ramsey performance. Ramsey winners on home soil by 3-1 against Corinthians.
Great result that for Ramsey, and got a little bit of a report here. It was Ramsey v Corinthians Premier League. Half-time score was Ramsey 2, Corinthians 1. Full-time Ramsey 3, Corinthians 1. Scorers were for Ramsey, I think he got the first one, Darren Tartar. Chris Duggan got 2-1, a solo game. Well done to Chris. Corinthians, Josh Ryden it was, who got a goal from the penalty spot after 27 minutes. Referee Stuart Neen and the two linesmen did well, as well did Ramsey's young goalkeeper, Eamon McKeenan, with 3 one-on-one saves, all in the first half. So Ramsey on top in the second half, and it was a real good performance by Ramsey, so well done to them.
Corinthians, for them, is that a bit of a setback? They still have those games in hand to try and catch up to Peel, but will that feel a bit like an opportunity missed, or would it just be full credit to Ramsey on the day for a brilliant performance?
I think it's two. It's a opportunity missed, and also credit to Ramsey. You know, Corinthians, to me, are the only team that could sort of keep in touch with Peel. I know Union Mills now have gone into a second spot. They've played 18 games, as where Corinthians have only played 14. And you get games like that. And, you know, Ramsey a good side. I saw a good battle last week with them against Onken. But Corinthians can't keep slipping up. Peel didn't play today. So the league table now looks like Peel played 17 for 42. Then we've got second place Union Mills, who played 18 for 31. And then in third place you've got Corinthians, who've only played 14 games for 30. So if they won their 3 games in hand on Peel, that will put them 3 points behind. So there's still a good battle to go, but you know, Ramsey have kept themselves in touch as well. They've played 17 now for 28 points. So, you know, there's a good sort of fight going on in there for that second, third place.
Absolutely. Well, we move on to DPS Limited Division 2. Most of the Division 2 teams, as we know, were tied up with the Woods Cup quarterfinals today, but there was one league game in the division today between Douglas Athletic and Colby, and that finished all square, 2-2, Tony. Yeah,
disappointed for Colby, really, because I think they thought that they were going to win this one. Athletic, though, put in a good performance. That puts them on 9 points now. But Lee Ford, one of the stalwarts for Douglas Athletic, getting a couple of goals. Carl Hickey, back from injury, he got a couple of goals for Colby. So good battle, point shared, 2-2.
And then we move into the combination divisions. We'll start with Laxey versus St John's. And, well, just like I suppose the first team as well, it was all smiles for the St John's combination team. Big win today at Laxey by 7-0.
Yeah, good performance by them. And thanks to Mark Thomas and everyone else who's got the score through to us, Liam as well. But the goal scorers today, John Haggerton got one. Lewis Taylor, Kieran Brock got a couple of goals. And Liam Sale was the star. He got a hat-trick.
Then moving on between Douglas High School Old Boys and Douglas Royal. Old Boys the winners in this one, managing what their first team just couldn't quite do today. They got 3 points today, the combination side, beating Douglas Royal by 2-1. Yeah,
good win that for Old Boys, and haven't got the goal scorers, Rob. Anything come through? No. Old Boys 2, Douglas Royal 1.
And then Morown versus Union Mills. Union Mills the victors between the first teams. Morown the victors in the combination face-off. Morown winning by 4-2.
And that's all the information I've got, unless you've got something come through on the...
Nothing just at the moment. So,
okay.
Yep. Any scorers from Moran versus Union Mills? Thank you to who did text that score. And if you do have any scorers, please do send them through as well. 166 177. Moving on, we go to Onken versus Ayr United. All square between both sides. 1-1 it finished.
Dylan Bridges it was who got the goal for Onken, and I'm not too sure who got the goal for Ayr United.
And just as in that game, the scoreline was the same in the other, in combination one between Corinthians and Ramsey. A goal apiece there as well, points shared.
1-1 at half time, so not a lot to brag about in the second half. I'm sure there was efforts out there. Danny Oram it was who got the goal for Corinthians. We haven't got Ramsey's goal scorer.
Very well, and then we move into DPS Limited Combination 2. The early kick-off, all games were usually due to, as always really, kick-off at 2:30pm across the leagues. This was a slightly earlier kick-off of 1:45 between St Mary's and Michael United, and St Mary's commanding win for them today, into double figures in this game today. They beat Michael United by 10-3, Tony.
Yeah, going really well. And the star today, Rob McGinn, he got 4 goals. Kieran Smith got 3. Michael Doyle with his name on the score sheet. Barry Chandler got a goal as well. Not too sure who scored the Michael's goals.
The Castletown v Gyms game, that was postponed. We found that out, I believe it was last night, wasn't it, Tony, that Gyms informed the FA that they wouldn't be able to get a team out today. So what the points, will they go across to Castletown then?
Points are awarded to Castletown, no goals. You can't award goals, but no. It's one of them, it happens. And I think a couple of people or a couple of teams have been caught out with half term because it's, it finishes, if you like, tomorrow. They're all back at school on Monday, and parents and everyone else take the chance to go away, and it can leave the team short.
So that game postponed. And then we move on to Braddon versus Ramsey Youth Centre. Ramsey Youth Centre, good result for them today away at Braddon. They've won by 3-0. It
was a great result, and they were 2-0 up at half-time. Leighton Ballard, he got a couple of goals. Ryan Quigley got the other one. 2-0 at half-time, 3-0 at the end.
And the final game in DPS Limited Combination 2 today between Colby and Maloo. And Maloo convincing winners today by 6-1.
Yeah, Maloo keeping in touch at the top of the table. They're in second place. Yep, Ramsey Youth Centre still top. It was 1-6. I haven't got Maloo's goal scorers, but for Colby, it was Toby Hudson.
I do have Maloo's goal scorers here. So we had a hat-trick for Dean Kinley. And then from the message that came through, we have goals for Geordie, Brandon and Kieran Krippner as well. Those are the only details I've got, but thank you very much for sending those details through. Well, we will have the GH Corlett Woods Cup semi-final draw live here on the programme in a few minutes' time, but we will turn our attention to the moment of the NWCFL Premier Division, and FC Isle of Man were unable to make it 3 consecutive wins for the first time this season today. A close game between themselves and the informed Prestwich Hayes over at Ady Moran Park, and a late sucker punch for the Ravens. An 87th minute header from a corner from Prestwich Hayes Matthew Davies, meaning that FC Isle of Man, despite a positive performance, have left Lancashire today empty-handed. Well, after the full-time whistle and after today's late defeat, I caught up with FC Isle of Man's interim manager Paul Jones to get his thoughts on the way the game panned out for his side.
We were excellent for large parts of the game. First half in particular, we controlled the play, both with the ball and when they had the ball as well. We were very, very good. Maybe didn't quite create the clear-cut opportunities our play deserved, but we were excellent. In the second half, we were playing kind of against the wind a little bit more, and they were playing a little bit more direct, and maybe we didn't quite get up the pitch into their half quite as often as we could have done, or keep the ball in that area, but really they didn't threaten our goal at all. So it is very tough to take, really, to come away having lost that game when, on 7 out of 10 other games it would have been we'd have scored a couple in the first half and gone away and won the game, and on the other games, the other 3, it would have been a 0-0. So we're very disappointed, but there's a lot of positives to take. Sean Doyle's come back and played an hour today, which is excellent for the club, and there's lots of other players that got some good minutes, and we're building some good performances, and on a different day we walk away having won the game or at least got a point, but today we have to take our medicine and move on.
How are the players feeling about that? It's been a good couple of weeks, and then a late defeat there in a game that you maybe feel you could have got more out of. How are they feeling about the result?
Yeah, all of us are disappointed and not particularly happy at this moment in time, but over the next few hours and days we'll reflect on what we did really well, and there was an awful lot of positives to take from today's performance in terms of the structure and the shape and the intensity to how we played on a pitch that's a little bit more conducive to playing football. I think we would have done a lot better in the attacking half of the pitch, but there's lots of positives to take, and I'm going to let us wallow in the disappointment. I didn't say too much after the game. We need to hurt. We need to be unhappy with not winning a game of football, but at the same time we've got to focus on what we've done well, and we'll definitely focus on that ahead of Tuesday's session and take that into our game on Saturday against Winsford.
Paul Jones there, the interim manager of FC Isle of Man, after that late defeat away to Prestwich Hayes this afternoon. We've just had another message in just to let us know about the game between Moran and Union Mills in Combination 1. And Tony, we have a couple of scorers, don't we?
We certainly do. Dale Beaton got 2 of the goals. It was Alex Marley who got 1, and Joel Neil, who got the other one. So they're the 4 goal scorers for Moran's victory, 4-2 against Union Mills.
Excellent, and thank you for that message, bringing that in. So, Tony, just going quickly back to FC Isle of Man there, a sucker punch really, 3 minutes from the end in a game that, what seemingly, as Paul Jones said, that they were right in, there was nothing to choose between them, and undone by a set piece late on. That'll hurt, that one, won't it?
Well, it will, because you're playing, what are the 7th, I think it was, Prestwich, and I just thought to myself, this is going to be a real tough afternoon, and they competed so well, the chances they seemed to have, there was plenty throughout the game, they were creating, but it's always that horrible thing where you think you're going to get over the line. It would have been a bonus point for them, and unfortunately they conceded right towards the end, and they come away with nothing. But it doesn't matter, because the way I look at it, the performances have improved, and playing against one of the top sides, they've only just been beaten 1-0, so they'll take something from that.
And on top of that, Prestwich Hayes, they were 3-0 winners at the Bowl all the way back in September, while FC Isle of Man still, and probably still are, adjusting to the challenges of this division. So do you think that shows progress then in a head-to-head between the two sides? Of course, you do see players chopping and changing across some of these other teams in the UK at times, the transfers in and out. It's a pretty regular thing. But to be coming up against a side like that that's been really consistent and only just beaten by a set-piece this time compared to a 3-0 loss at home, do you think that shows a good amount of progress?
Yeah, I think it is good progress, but when you look at it, Rob, it's so hard to predict results in that league, because when you look at a team, we don't know them as well as the other teams who have been playing there for quite a while. So you look at it and you go, well, look at it, Winsford, down towards the bottom, and so up towards the top. And, they're coming out with the maximum points, which is heaping more pressure on FC Isle of Man. But I suppose it makes it interesting. It doesn't help FC Isle of Man in any way, because it's heart attack material. But they're still putting performances in, and even though this year the results haven't gone their way, we've watched a lot of the home games over the last 2 years, and they're still there, they're still chipping away, they're playing good football, and it's not necessarily luck, but it's just the tide will change somewhere along. They've started to get more experienced players back. Sean Doyle's back, Mikey Williams is back, Frank Jones is back. Defensively, they've looked pretty solid. Matthew Quirk played his second game back today. James Rice can't be far away. But in saying that, Ben Wilkinson's done a tremendous job. So it's got to be a tough decision for Paul to make when he has to change his team around. But at the moment, they're in a good place.
And just quickly before we move on, looking at their next two games, next Saturday, Winsford United, one of the teams around them, at the Bowl next Saturday, and then in midweek after that, Longridge Town away from home, another team around them. So do you think there's a lot of emphasis on those two games, or do you think there's still plenty of football to be played to increase that cushion away from the relegation zone as it stands?
Those two are important games, Rob, and they're teams that are around them, and they need maximum points out of them, because if they don't get it, they're putting more pressure on them. Now, games are starting to run out, and when you look at the running that FC Isle of Man have got, there's a tremendous amount of tough fixtures in there against the top three teams. I think they've still got to play. So we'll wait and see, but yeah, win next Saturday, be a massive plus for them, and then get one midweek. It makes that early start, when they have to get up the following morning, all worth it when they've won the game and got the 3 points. So fingers crossed they'll do it.
We'll see in 7 days' time when FC Isle of Man welcome Winsford United to the Bowl next Saturday. Well, we're sticking with football for the moment. Before we hear from Dave Christian on the rugby side of things in a few minutes, it is now time to bring you the draw for the semi-finals of the GH Corlett Woods Cup. So, Tony, just for those who may have just been tuning in the last couple of minutes, could you tell us who's in the hat?
I certainly can, and let's just recap the results. I won't do the scorers, but Governors Athletic against St Mary's. St Mary's won 9-0. Ramsey Youth Centre 1, Jim's 2, so Jim's go into the hat. Foxdale, it took extra time to beat Braddon, but they've done it, 3-1. And in the other game, the big game, the two of the top sides in Division 2, Castletown came up 5-1 winners. So in the hat, we've got St Mary's, Foxdale, Jim's and Castletown. You've got the 4 balls in front of you.
I have indeed.
If you can put the 4 teams out of their misery, please, and do the draw for the GH Corlett Woods Cup semi-finals.
I can indeed. Let's get this underway then. So the first out of the hat is number 4.
Number 4 is St Mary's.
And they will play number 3.
Number 3 is Jim's.
And for the second semi-final, at home is number 1.
Number 1 is Castletown. They should be playing.
And so that means, here we go, just about found it there. We'll play number 2.
Number 2 is Foxdale. So the draw for the GH Corlett Woods Cup semi-finals to be played on 25th of March, I think it is. Number 4 was St Mary's will have a home tie against Jim's, and Castletown will play at home against Foxdale.
Which is the standout tie? Those, I mean, they're all pretty close at the moment, aren't they?
Well, you have to go on league tables when you look at this. St Mary's are top, have played 14 for 35, as where Jim's are ninth, who've played 12 for 11. So you'd say St Mary's, and the way they're playing, and let's face it, Rob, they've done brilliant this year. You know, last year they weren't in the league, neither teams. They've got two teams in, they're both battling towards the top of the table, and just everything about the club has just all come back. It's all controlled, they're all driving. It's the best thing for the club, and that's to try and get promotion and some silverware. Castletown against Foxdale, as we looked at today, Braddon are one of the top sides. Foxdale have disposed of them in extra time, so they'll have a right good goal at Castletown. But Castletown are in the stride at the moment, aren't they? But they do have a tendency now and then to slip up, as we've seen already. And I think they slipped up, was it against Braddon? So it just gives you a pointer of where this one might go. But to me, when it comes to Good Friday and the final, I think you'll see St Mary's against Castletown.
Very well, Tony's put his hat in the ring as to who might be there at the moment, but you never know, do you? So if you missed it just a moment ago, the draw for the Woods Cup semi-finals is St Mary's will be at home to Jim's, and Castletown will be at home to Foxdale. And Tony, just for a bit of clarity, do we have an idea of when these games might be played yet?
I think it's the 25th of March, Rob. This will go on because, when Easter comes in, 6th, 7th of April, so we need to get those games out of the way. We've got a cup game that we need to get out of the way next week, the ECAP FA Cup first round game, still not being played, and that's Corinthians against Braddon, so that will go ahead next week. A couple of fixtures will have to be postponed. Clubs have been informed of that one, and then hopefully the following week, the 11th, we'll have the 4 quarter-final games, and then we can get the semi-finals and the final done for that.
One final question. We've come back to it a couple of times. It's just nice to get, a bit of update from the clubs and the players' perspective sometimes. In terms of the fixture congestion, still trying to work through some of those postponements. Where are we at with games that need to be rescheduled, still have to be played? How are things looking at the moment from the FA side?
Well, as you come through the cup games, and not next week, but the week after the 11th, gives you an opportunity to get some rearranged games on. But at the moment, it's a struggle because it's full league on. But as the cups progress into the semi-finals, then you've only got 4 teams sort of playing, so it gives you a chance to organise some others. But we'll be hitting the night games as soon as the light allows us, and we've got to try and get, we have to be done for TT because, pitches are used for camping and everything else. So it's going to be a right hard push towards the end of the season, but we've been there before, we've got it done, and the clubs will be informed of rearranged fixtures as they're going to happen.
Fingers crossed everything gets sorted. Well, Tony, pleasure as always, and we'll be catching up with
Rob.
you very soon indeed. Okay, we're going to move things on to rugby now. We'll be speaking to Dave Christian in just a moment, but first off, let's bring you the classified results of the Isle of Man rugby fixtures that have taken place today, and they are as follows. In the Regional 2 Northwest, Vale of Loon 37, Douglas 14. In the Women's NC1 Northwest, Chester Divas 34, Vagabonds 27. And in the Ravenscroft Manx Shield Playoff, Ramsey 73, Southern Nomads 12. Your classified rugby results for Saturday the 25th of February. Well, he's been waiting very patiently, chomping at the bit to get his word in. We'll now cross over live to Manx Radio's rugby correspondent Dave Christian. Dave, very good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, Rob. Good evening.
Okay, so first off, Dave, just taking a look at Regional 2 Northwest, Vale of Loon and Douglas. This was predicted to be quite a tight game. Douglas in a decent run of form as well up against a good Vale of Loon side, but just not quite able to keep up the pace today, beaten by 37 points to 14 out in Lancaster.
Yeah, game of two halves, Rob, as the old cliche goes. Douglas couldn't get the travel out of their legs. We're 32-0 down at half-time. After the a biblical half-time speech, probably from Coach Phil Kringle, who was playing himself. They got their skates on and won the second half, 14 points to 7, but it just wasn't quite enough. Douglas so be disappointed with that, to be close in the second half, but being absolutely battered in the first. The 2 tries for Douglas, one from John Dutnall, the other from player coach himself, Phil Kringle. Both of those converted by Luke Highland, but I think they took a good, strong side away, and they'll be disappointed with that result. But onwards and upwards. I think next week it is a home fixture for them, and my memory serves me correctly, it's against Winnington Park, who are below them in the table. Great opportunity for Douglas to pick up some points.
Okay, and then we move on to the Women's NC1 Northwest. A battle of second v third out in Chester. Chester Divas second in the league. Vagabonds a very good third in the league, having a good campaign. Close between these two sides are Bala Fletcher a few months ago, and Chester Divas just snatching the game on that day, and they've done it again today. But Vagabonds certainly put up a fight today, a positive performance from them. Vagabonds beaten by 34 points to 27, Dave.
Yeah, it was 3 points, I think, the difference, 2017 at Bala Fletcher. Today it's 7 points, but there'll be a bonus point, I think, in that for Vagabonds at least, and they won't be too perturbed. They've got Halifax twice and Lee Ladies to come, and if they pick off those 3 games, there's an opportunity for them still to finish second, but that result today will give the advantage to Chester Divas in the table. Tries from Vagabonds today, one from Hayley Coots, hat-trick from Jules Harrison, the human battering ram that plays in the centre for them, and a try as well from Sophie Henry. They'd moved her into the front row today to cover for absent players, and I thought that might stifle her a little bit, but Sophie's very big ball carrier for them, and well done for her for picking up a try. Sammy McDonald with a conversion for Vagabonds as well, but not all doom and gloom, 34-27. Like I said, I think there's at least one bonus point in there for them, so they'll take that on the chin and move onwards and upwards.
Very well, and then we move to the one game that was taking place domestically today. That was the playoff for the Ravenscroft Manx Shield. Now, of course, Dave, you'd already pointed out that this competition was halted a few weeks ago because of a number of teams having to give away walkovers, and the Ravenscroft Manx Trophy was set up in this cluster format. But the Manx Shield coming back in because of the 2 teams that were up at the top, and then it was decided that these 2 teams will have a playoff to decide who wins it, and those were Ramsey and Southern Nomads to put their 2 teams out. Ramsey emerging winners in this playoff, and convincingly so by 73 points to 12 today.
Yeah, I've got a score correction there. I think it was my wonky eyesight. It was 79-12. Not that makes too much difference, I don't think. And sadly, neither team have been able to provide me with any score or information, so that's great for your timing. But pretty poor show by those pair. The result, well, 79-12. I think it was 50 points to 7 at half-time. Ramsey totally in charge. They had what's pretty much a full-strength first team out. And I know from a message I got from Nomads coach Casey Davies last night, Nomads were struggling for players today. And I think they were last week as well, to be fair. But the Manx Cup, not too far away now. It's Ramsey, Southern Nomads, Vagabonds and Douglas, all first teams. That gets underway, I think it's the 18th of March. And that's a good marker there for Ramsey for their form for the competition. But, comprehensive win. Ramsey take a little bit of silverware home. Boys will be pleased with that, and I'll give them a rollicking when I get home, just to remind them about getting scores in.
We'll bear that in mind, Dave. Thanks very much. Just one more question before we let you go. Obviously, today saw the Ravenscroft Manx Shield wrapped up for this season. The Manx Trophy's been taking place pretty much to replace it. This cluster format to get more players in, to try and allow more games to take place. People getting more time out on the pitch. We've got the Manx Cup coming up, but do you feel in the months to come, or maybe toward the end of the season, there might have to be maybe another little look from the committee at how the local competitions are going to make sure there's something consistent on the table going into next season?
Yeah, for sure. And it's very difficult to organise a competition that ticks everyone's boxes when you've got a large gap in playing standard. Ramsey and Southern Nomads, the 2 stronger sides in the competition, but at the other end of the competition, you've got like Western Vikings and Castletown, who sometimes struggle from week to week. And to find a competition format that suits everybody is incredibly difficult. So the organisers will have a little bit of head scratching to do. We don't know as yet next season whether Vagabonds will be entering the English Clubs Championship. If they don't, that would help domestically because we've got another team into the mix. And going forward, it's difficult to plan out what the season might look like. We know that there's a county cup competition that will start in August, probably August 2023. Ramsey and Southern Nomads will definitely be interested in that. Potentially Vagabonds too, depending on what their league ambition is. Their league season obviously not been going so well, and the league below them, if they were to be relegated, is going to be a little bit messy for them. I think there's only 8 teams in it at the moment, and there have been several walkovers in that level as well. So if any of those 8 fall away, then that league will melt into nothing, and Vagabonds might be forced to have a little bit of a rethink themselves. But that's all to come. A bit of excitement maybe at the end of the season when the divisional organising committee actually decide how the league structure will look. But it would be really good to see Vagabonds back in domestic competition next season. It would certainly beef it up a little bit and maybe give the opportunity for more fixtures. But as I say, that playing gap between the two sides at the top of the domestic structure and the sides at the bottom is quite difficult to plug with a fixture structure that really works for everybody. And I've been head scratching all season about it. And, before, I think a couple of seasons back, just before the COVID pandemic, we had Rugby Development Officer Chris Brannigan, and he was scratching his head just as hard as I have been. So it's, like I said, a difficult problem, but we'll have a crack at it and see how it works out next season.
Dave Christian, pleasure as always, and we will now let you enjoy the rest of your trip in continental Europe this weekend. Dave Christian with that report there for Manx Radio on the rugby side of things. Well, Tony, we've just had a message in, actually, football related. Wonder if you could maybe shed a little bit of light on this one. And I'll just get this up in front of me in just a moment. Here we go, there it is. Anthony asks, he says, hi there, do we know whether 3 brothers have scored in the same game for the same side before? Because Kieran Geordie and Brandon Krippner scored today for Malou. Do we have any? Could you scratch your head maybe through that mental archive of yours?
I can answer that quite easily, I think, and I think I'm right. Is Nick Ingham, Steve Ingham and Matt Ingham. It's a long, long time ago for St John's. I think I'm right. But there's always been a few brothers kicking around. I'll have another little think, but that one there, when I saw Jordan, Brandon and Kieran come through, I thought, wow, it doesn't happen very often, that one. But when you look at others, you've got 5 sons who played, was it 5 sons who played with their dad last season? That was the Gartlands. So well done to them. Yeah. So there's
the whole picture of them lined up alongside.
We'll check on that one. I'll find out on Monday, but I think I'm right there.
Well, there you go, straight from the archives of Tony Mepham. Well, Tony, we will now let you scamper free for the rest of your weekend. Thank you very much once again. Okay, just having a look through maybe some of the other sports that have been taking place across the island and off island as well today. We'll hopefully be catching up with netball matters in the next couple of moments over in Northern Ireland. In fact, before we get to the other matters, let's do that actually, because now we've got on the line Emma Williams. She is the coach for the Manx Rams under-17s. The Rams under-17s taking part in day 2 for them of the Europe Netball Under-17 Championship and Challenge over the Antrim Forum in Belfast. Emma, very good evening to you here on Manx Radio. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, really enjoying ourselves here in Northern Ireland. They're treating us very well.
Excellent, fantastic. Well, that brings me on to, I suppose, my first question, really. It's a bit of a new experience for some of these team members out there at a big competition like this. So how has the team been enjoying the occasion out there?
I've got to say the Netball Europe competitions under 17s are very friendly. It's quite a nice environment. You meet people from different parts of the world. So at the moment, I've got 10 new caps this time, so 10 people who've never done this experience before. And I think they're really enjoying themselves. We've had a little bit of time off and we've done some activities with them. They've all been in the steam room and the sauna and the jacuzzi this morning, just before they've got a match this evening at 7:30. So great.
It was an intense day yesterday at a match. First thing in the morning, came out on top as well against Gibraltar as well. A great result there. And then you had to wait until later in the evening to take on a Northern Ireland development squad. A loss there, but there must have been positives to take despite that defeat yesterday evening. Yeah,
I'm sort of targeting our group. The Northern Ireland development is basically additional games, and what happens in those games doesn't go towards any points or any, where we finish within the table. So I took that opportunity to put, my inexperienced players on and let them feel how it is to compete at this level. And I think we achieved what we wanted to achieve for that game. Gibraltar, they came out a lot stronger than I was expecting, but I think we battled through and showed some true grit in that last quarter.
Now, when we caught up with the captain of the Manx Rams under-17s, Mackenzie, and the vice-captain Poppy, they mentioned that there's a few new faces in the squad this time. So for those who haven't done something like this before, how do you feel that they've been bedding into the whole setup?
I think they've done extremely well. I think, I always go away and I'm really proud as the girls. They act in a mature manner. We make sure that they're all included in the decisions and ensuring that the communication between the team manager and myself is nice and direct and also inclusive. It can be quite an emotional time when you're not picked to go on court. But I think they've all handled it extremely well this time. So, yeah, I'm really proud of them. I always am proud of the under-17s. They work extremely hard to get to where they are, and they always do their best, which is all you can ask.
Absolutely. Well, turning to this evening, you're coming up against Switzerland tonight. That's a 7:15 start. Are you expecting anything in particular from the Switzerland side that'll be different to the games against the Northern Ireland Development Squad in Gibraltar, or are you just, as a squad, just focusing on your own game for this one?
I'm expecting sort of Switzerland to be sort of at the same level as Gibraltar. What I'm going to be starting quite an experienced squad, and we'll see how it goes, and then we'll sort of rotate our players on so everybody gets a little bit of the experience of playing at this level. They are quite what we call an aerial game. There's a lot of sort of high passes, so I'm hoping that someone like Kenzie and Holly in the back will be able to pick those balls off and we'll be able to score from them. So a little bit of focus on ourselves, but we've just got to be mindful of what they're going to put out as well. So we'll see what happens. I'm quite positive about it.
And finally, well, once all is said and done with this tournament, no matter what the results in your upcoming games, obviously tonight against Switzerland and then Republic of Ireland coming up as well this weekend, just how important is it going to be for some of these players to the lessons they can take from a tournament like this coming up against international opposition at this early age? It must be a very positive thing if you're continuing your career as a netball player.
Yeah, I think having this experience and also looking at other teams that are on the international stage gives you something to look forward to, and also it shows you the structure of what those players have to do on a regular basis to play where they're playing. So a lot of the work behind the scenes, all comes together in the tournament, and I'm hopefully a lot of my players will understand all that hard work that we put in at training, where it comes to, and what you need to do to become a really good netballer in the future.
Well, Emma, we'll let you go. I'm sure you've got plenty to prepare for the game in just around an hour and a half's time. So thank you very much for sparing a couple of minutes, and all the best to the Rams under-17s for the rest of the weekend. Well, that's us nearly wrapped up here on Saturday Sports Classified. Just maybe a couple of other bits to mention from throughout the day, starting with athletics. It's been a big day for Sarah Aston, who has been crowned the women's champion of the English National Cross Country Championship today after the event taking place over at Ballsworth Castle over in Chester. And it was quite the exciting race. She was battling all the way with Gemma Steele, the former European champion, with Aston eventually taking the finish line, first across the line to take the title. So congratulations to Sarah. It's already it's another addition to what's been a fantastic 2023 so far for Sarah. Back in January, earned a 9th place for England in the Lotto Cross Cup at De Hanut in Belgium, and then earlier this month as well for England as well, took 3rd place in the Lotto Cross Cup, which was also in Belgium on the 12th of February. Meanwhile, earlier in the cycling side of things, it was a slightly tougher day for Mark Cavendish out on stage 6 of the UAE Tour today. He's been battling well with the Astana Kazakhstan team, already earned himself a 5th and 8th place finish on the respective stages so far, but early heartbreak for Cav at the end of today's stage. Flat tyre with just 1.5 kilometres to go on stage 6, but that's certainly not going to deter him as they go into the next stage tomorrow with the UAE Tour continuing. Well, that brings to an end Saturday Sport Classified for this evening, Saturday the 25th of February. Thank you very much for joining us for your latest roundup of sporting results across the Isle of Man. We'll now be handing back over to Christy DeHaven over on our FM frequency. So from me, it is a very good evening. Have a wonderful Saturday evening and have a wonderful weekend as well. So until next time, bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.